Before we dive into today's episode, I have something truly special to share. Next September, I'll be leading an intimate women's retreat through the south of France and northern Italy, and you're invited. Picture this: mornings exploring the colorful markets of the French Riviera, afternoons sipping wine, and a hotel view with golden Mediterranean sunsets. Whether you love photography, food, or just want to reconnect with your playful creative self, this trip is designed for you. Spots are limited, so if all this sounds like your kind of adventure, please visit tourwithabsolutely.com and look for the tour France and Italy with Crystal. You can also send me a message or check out the show notes. Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. Welcome to the show, Sonia. How are you today?
I'm thrilled and delighted to be with you and really great.
I'm really glad to find out that you were my neighbor for many years and now you're just across the way. But I always like to tell people, ask them, where did you come from? What brought you to Paris?
I came to Paris initially when I was 20. It was quite intuitive. I was just guided to be there. I went to the Sorbonne. I made friends. I kept going back year after year, bonded with the country, very, very young. I haven't really ever left, but it was after a divorce that I just wanted to start my life all over, and it made perfect sense that it would be Paris. So I just up and moved I was there in 2015, and I never looked back.
Well, good for you. I know so many people tell me, I'm dreaming of moving to Paris. How do you do it? And I say the same thing. I'm like, just do it. Like, just show up.
I wrote a book called Waking Up in Paris.
Oh, perfect.
My books. And it is about the train wreck that catapulted me to Paris and how the resurrection once I got there. And the whole experience of moving to Paris is really about moving. I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like moving to Paris is moving into a very committed relationship with self-love, because the city's beautiful, but you can only enjoy it if you love yourself. If you look for everyone else to love you there, you're going to struggle. But if you love yourself, there's no better backdrop.
That's a great way of putting that. I've never thought of it that way. It's so funny because when I first moved here, I'm like, everyone hates me. I'm going to leave.
Right.
And then I was like, no, I love my job. I love my life. I love my friends. Like, no, I'm staying. So it is like a journey of self-love.
Yeah, it is what I think. It's the city of tough love. It really forces you to get clear about who you are and love yourself. And
so true.
And that is how Paris is. It loves itself with all its challenges. It is unapologetically in love with itself, and you get on board with that.
I completely agree. And if you can't, then you have to leave because
Right.
You won't be able to handle it.
You will self-select out. That's for sure.
So you touched on this already. You're a best-selling author. You're a spiritual teacher. You're an intuitive guide. Talk a little bit about how you got into intuitive guiding and healing and all of that work you do.
Well, for me, it's been a way of life. I grew up in an intuitive family. I was raised by a mother who was deaf and relied on intuition to be the ultimate guide in life. And she was an incredible artist and extremely gifted and very, very intuitive. And just being one of 7 to kind of get your mother's attention, I learned to be super intuitive myself. So by the time I was 12, I was already doing work for the police and I'd gained a reputation. And so I don't actually know another way of life. But what I do know is that I'm not exceptional. The circumstances I grew up in were. in that my life insisted that I use all my senses. I have learned and devoted my life to helping other people realize we all have all these inner senses, and we need them as much as we need our five physical senses to guide us in life if we really want to live in an empowered, fulfilling, authentic way. So I've been doing this. It's the only way I know how to live, but I've been teaching people for over 40 years how to turn on their intuitive faculties and integrate them as normal, because they are natural to us and we need them.
So definitely, I couldn't agree more. Like, that's something that a lot of people have been talking about lately and interested in. And you've been teaching people to do this for 40 years now. So talk a little bit about what that process looks like for people to learn.
Well, two things. There is a reason people are waking up to this now. It's not just random. Before, I'd say probably up until 2000, life was generally pretty predictable. We didn't really need our inner senses. We didn't have the information overload of cell phones and internet like we do now. There wasn't a lot of change. Our moms went to work and their jobs stayed the same. But then all of a sudden, this rapid transformation on the planet, everything's changing so fast, completely exacerbated by COVID. All of a sudden, our five senses just aren't enough to keep up. They don't get the information that they give us is obsolete within weeks sometimes. So that's why it's activating spontaneously our natural senses. So what I teach people is to pay attention to what you're actually experiencing. You have gut feelings. Your heart does communicate. Your skin crawls when you're in danger. Don't ignore it. Validate it. So it's not so much that you have to learn to use your senses. You have to learn to value them, pay attention to them, all of them, and not fight them. And that's the work that I've been doing, because honestly, I've traveled the world and I don't know anybody who hasn't had at least some experience of their intuitive sense. It's not that's so unusual. It's what you do with it. How you respond, whether you use it or ignore it, that makes the difference in your life.
So how do you tell the difference between, for example, okay, I'm super emotional, I'm super upset, I'm spiraling into anxiety, and then versus like intuitively, like, does this really matter? Or am I just overthinking? Is it my ego? Is it my heart? How do you help people tell the difference?
So that is an excellent question, but I think part of our way forward through discerning the difference between intuition and spiraling emotion is our language. We use those same words for both, and it's not accurate. The word feeling is a sensation, an energetic sensation is intuition, whereas feeling an emotion is a different thing. So the first thing you want to do to discern between the two is calm down the physical body. You can do it by writing. You can do it by shower. You can do it by going for a walk and starting to just identify the things around you that you see. Like, there's the tree, there's the market, there's there's the train station, because that brings you out of your head and out of your emotions. It brings you back to the moment and back to your body. Once you calm down your emotions, once you get back in your body, the other way you can do this is by writing. I'm afraid, my boyfriend dumped me, my job sucks, my neighbors are too loud, whatever is disturbing your emotional space, triggering your anxiety. Just write it down, move it out, shower it off, move that adrenaline, which is fueling all that reactivity, out of your body. Then when you're quiet and centered again, you simply put your hand on your heart and say out loud, my heart says. Or you can put your hand on your gut, my gut says, and verbally answer out loud. My gut, like, I'm going to lose my job, I'm in trouble, the world's ending. Okay, that's your emotional anxiety. Settle that down. My heart says, I'm okay. My heart says I'm disappointed, but this is the best thing. This relationship was all wrong. So you have to settle the emotion, calm. And then the other thing, quite honestly, is you have to want to see what's really going on. And this is something that a lot of people love to live in an alternate reality. They would rather believe the relationship they're in is good than admit it's an abusive, checked out, narcissistic, drunk person. Or conversely, they'd rather be aloof and independent rather than admit this is a really wonderful, genuine, consistent, loving person that's trying to be connected to me. You see? So move the energy, write it down or say out loud what your gut, your heart says, and then sit with it. If it's real intuition, it will leave you calm. If it's real intuition, it won't have too many words. It'll be pretty direct and short sentences. If it's your emotions, it's your confusion, it will leave your body stressed, and it will have a lot more to say than you want to hear. So it's pretty reliable to just empty the garbage is what I call that, and then check in with your heart and gut, and then check in with your body. Is your body relaxed? Even if the information is not what your emotions want to hear, your body will relax if it's intuition.
I love that. That kind of makes me think of Elizabeth Gilbert when she would be writing in her journal and freaking out and crying and being like, writing, what's going to happen? They're like, you're okay. I love you. You're fine. Like that's what her response in her journals would be when she would ask questions when she was spiraling.
Brilliant example of how your intuition is available. You just have to cut through the noise of your anxiety and your what I call your brain, your ego brain, I call your barking dog. You just have to quiet the barking dog by taking it for a run. You have to cut through the noise and then ask your essential self, your spirit, and it will be quite clear and very present.
Do you believe that generally humankind prefers to suffer? Like it's distracting? Or do you believe that our general being should be peace and love? I mean, history hasn't shown us a great track record of that, but what are your beliefs on that?
It's not a matter of belief. It's more a matter of what I've studied. The human journey is difficult because, for one, it's temporary. So we're always going to be struggling in a temporary, messy scenario. But we're here to learn to create. We are here to learn that we can and are empowered to create lives that we want. But as long as we're creating from our ego, we are going to be embattled because the ego by nature is threatened. It sees others as an existential threat. It's a me against you reality. So even if you have those on your side, it's still us against them. It's an othering perception. And that's the trouble of the world. It's the battle of the ego, the barking dog melee. Whereas if you create and proceed in life from the identity of I'm a spiritual being, I'm a spirit. I am a divine force that illuminates this body and this consciousness, but there are no others. It's just me and them. And I am free to communicate and create what I am called to do and respect that so are others. Then the battle stops. I don't think the struggle and the suffering will ever stop because it's how we grow. It's just what needs to stop is our perception that this is all so wrong and shouldn't be happening and it's a mistake. And instead, reframe the difficult times in our life as this is growth. What can I learn? And how fast can I learn it so that the pain will go away?
Yeah, I think that's very true. And I know a lot of creatives suffer from, we want to be these spiritual beings we want to create, we want to, enjoy, but we got to pay the rent, we got to pay the bills. So can you find a connection there between the spirit of creating and then also being able to make a living from it? Or is that something you shouldn't even try to combine?
Well, I don't think it's realistic to combine it right off the bat. I mean, even I, who came in, I consider my work an art as well. The intuitive arts are as much an art as anything, and I'm a writer. But I had years where I always was a writer, but one of our sole assignments is to be self-reliant, to be able to meet our own basic needs. And so I did whatever I needed to do to afford me the joy of writing. For a while, I was a waitress, I was a flight attendant, I was a driver, and, but I wrote every day because it was my love. I mean, even the great artists, especially if we go back to Paris, they all had to figure out some way to survive. I think that your art as a creative is your purpose. But we also have our lessons in service, and one doesn't negate the other. So if I need to be creative and resourceful while I'm developing the mastering my art, welcome it instead of begrudge it or feel like I have to overlay that this is all so unfair or so bad or I'm not successful. I mean, I work with artists. Some my primary clients are artists. Some are just beginning, some are world famous. But the trajectory is, I've observed over the years, is pretty much the same. The ones who succeed show up and do what they do every day with love in their heart and do whatever else they have to do to support themselves while doing what they do with love in their heart. And that formula ultimately does pay off.
I definitely couldn't agree more. I think we all start out doing jobs that we just have to do to support our passions. And talk a little bit about imposter syndrome. I mean, as creatives, they often suffer from that. What is the fastest route to get away from imposter syndrome and just create?
Well, I think that as long as you identify yourself as an ego, you are always going to be in fear and invalidation. The ego self, by its own nature, because it's the temporary part of you, is always going to be scared, insecure, comparing itself to others, needing approval, wanting validation from others. Whereas if you create from the spirit that you are, and that what I am creating is an expression of my authentic self, and it is a labor of love, and it is created with a sense of contribution, not looking for external validation, then the imposter syndrome subsides. It stops. It stops because it's all born out of I can only be, and I am only as valid as the approval I get. And I know people and coach people and have clients who are world famous and have succeeded in their fields at the top of their artistic fields. And some of them still have imposter syndrome because they're still always seeking the validation outside. In fact, that's how they find themselves to me, is I start to coach them to reshape, to reorganize their identity. Like, stop identifying as the ego who needs the forever approval of others to be validated, and start to live from the spirit. And this is your joy and contribution. And it starts to ease away and eventually it disappears.
Yeah, I know. I think that's great advice because I know so many of my guests, and like you said, people are very successful, have been doing things a very long time. They still have imposter syndrome. So I think that's great advice. Let's talk a little bit about your work. You've published 28 books in 30 countries, including The Answer is Simple, Trust Your Vibes, and Ask the Guides. Talk a little bit about your writing process.
My writing process is suit up, shut up, and show up. I just sit down. No part of my brain, a logic brain, is involved in writing. It is a completely intuitive process. I sit down and I listen with my heart and I just start writing. And I am channeling my guides, my higher self. I have spirit guides who help me. And my role in the world is teacher, not messenger. So I do intuitive readings, but my purpose and my passion is empowerment for others. So everything I've written has been about empowering others to wake up their own inner guidance. So I've never, ever done a book. I've never done a book proposal. I wouldn't know how to do one. If I was asked, I would say, I can't help you. I don't involve my logic at all. I just sit down and write. I think painters who paint can understand this, photographers who walk out and take photos. I think that the the expression of art is primarily shared. We intuitively show up. Writing, good writing, is no different than painting or music. You just show up and let that part of you that is the creator take over. It's really a surrender and a trust process more than it is anything else.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think a lot of artists, I've heard them say, oh, I don't know where it came from, this song, this book, but it was just in me and I had to get it out. And then you also hear about people having the same idea about the same exact thing. I mean, it's just crazy. So yeah, it's just showing up, like you said.
And that you trust the spirit in you as the creator. So whenever I say, I don't know where it came from, I do know where it comes from. It comes from the spirit that we are. We are a divine essence that's magnificent and brilliant. And if we operate from that place, and why I think artists can really tap into that is because a lot of artists create their art with their hands, and your hands are connected to your heart. So you're more organically wired to your highest brain, which is your heart brain, which is where your spirit communicates. So it's coming from my authentic self, my divine self. And if you're consistent, instead of needing to be in the mood, if you're consistent, it starts flowing pretty regularly. There's a woman who's a brilliant artist and a dear friend of mine. You may be aware of her. Her name is Julia Cameron.
Yeah.
She wrote the book, The Artist's Way. She wrote the foreword for my very first book. And when I wrote my book, she said to me, just show up. Don't worry about quality. Just worry about quantity. Just show up. And that advice has created, now I've actually written more than 28 books. I'm into 32, big and small, and they've all been written by just showing up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hear that so often. People are like, well, how do you write a book? How do you do it? It's like, yeah, just show up. I mean, action is also soul and creation. It's like,
Right.
be in action.
Exactly. I love that you're saying that. That's so true. It's like whether you're going to write a book, to me, I look in awe at people who could create beautiful food. I am just in awe of that. Wow. How did you do that? Well, you just show up and you start dabbling and you learn and you get a feel for the energy of what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Following those curiosities and doing your morning pages like your best friend tells us to do. Talk a little bit about what you do when you're overcoming creative blocks or you want to rekindle with your creative spirit. What do you do when you're feeling a little bit of a block?
If I feel a block, that means my spirit left the room and my head's trying to compensate and take over. So I just stop and do something fun. I stop trying to create and I just devote myself to 2 or 3 or 4 days of genuine fun. I go dancing. I go on long, I love to go exploring. I go on long walks. I go poke around markets. I go to movies, but what I do is outside of my home. Whatever I do fun, I will go to something unusual. I go discover something I haven't discovered, a new restaurant, a new area, a new type of food, go see a new foreign film, something fun and different, because that gets me back into my right brain and my heart brain. And then I'm good to go again.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think walking away and like you said, doing something out of the box, just reconnecting with those curiosities, it's a great help for anybody. And what mindset shifts do you think are necessary for someone to fully embrace their creative potential?
To trust that if that is their purpose, then to do it as a labor of love and not as a job that needs to be validated by the outside world. That you do it because that's who you are. You involve yourself. You commit because it's you voicing and sharing who you are with the world. And it is a contribution, you don't do it to get something, you do it to give something. If you get something, great. If you don't, it doesn't matter. You showed up, like look at Van Gogh. He never got a thing, right? Aren't we glad he showed up? I would say you got to check your motivations. If you want to really live the artist's life, see yourself as someone who's here to keep the spirit of humanity fueled. to give them something to uplift or contemplate or reflect or get out of the mundane. And it's every artistic creation fuels and serves the human spirit and the goodness of humanity. Even if the art is shadow art, it helps us look at the parts we don't own. And we bring them forward so that we can deal with them instead of them taking over and destroying things. So if your motivation is love and service, and it's not like you're not trying to save anybody, you're just throwing your hat in the ring with your contribution to the gift of life, then you're always going to find an inspiration to keep going.
What are your feelings about community and togetherness when it comes to creativity?
Well, I think it depends. If the group is enjoying creating together, then I think it really is an accelerant to your brilliance. I think you share the common vibration of creativity. You're sharing a heart space. You're sharing inspiration. You're going to amplify the ability of the others around you. We're all feed off of each other. We share what's called telomeres. Our little energies jump back and forth. But if it's a collaboration of commiseration, which I have also witnessed, then I would say beware. Because when we start to just commiserate and feel bad and we're doing it with others, okay, we all need our mirrors, right? But if that becomes the place where we park, then we're not creating, we're just ripping ourselves off. So I think it's important to be aware of the effect your community has on you and the effect you have on your community. I think a big blind spot with people is we don't pay attention to how we affect one another. We're always looking at and talking about how they affect us, but it goes both ways. So if you come in with the intention to be encouraging, to witness and mirror and encourage, which actually from the French word cœur, which is heart, means to open their heart. That's what encouragement is. Bring them back to the heart of who they are, which is where they'll find their life force. So if your community offers encouragement, and of course it can offer support when you're struggling, we all struggle, but we don't want to park there. That's all. Then I think it's very important to have a community that shares your values and shares your motivations and shares your courage, because I think artists are courageous beings.
Yeah, no, definitely. Just getting up every day feels courageous at this point, putting yourself out there.
Yes. And it gets easier when you put yourself out there and know. Here's somebody gave me advice years ago, because when you put your books out there, you are a target for every critic in the world. And he said to me, half will love you, half will hate you. Just expect it and just do what you do, no matter what the response. Just mind your own business, which is to just keep creating what comes from your own authentic heart and spirit. And it's been good advice.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think when I released my book, I didn't sleep the whole night before. I was like, I've ruined my life. Like, why would I do that to myself? But then someone said to me, one, don't read the reviews. And
Never.
two, never read the reviews, or have a friend read the nice ones. And two, it's a reflection on how those people feel about themselves, what they're saying about you.
Absolutely. I can tell you a fun story, just kind of a quick finish here. I had a client years ago. I had this person come to my workshop, which is also a work of art, kind of improv, kind of. And he grabbed the microphone in my workshop and he said, "This is the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life. She's making a fool of all of us." And to my class, he goes, "I'm leaving. This is just so embarrassing. And who's going with me?" So, of course, it's the ultimate humiliation, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So he storms out. I just am quiet for a moment and then continued on. So, okay, I recovered. But guess who's sitting in the front row of my workshop 4 years later? As if that never happened. So, this is just an affirmation. Same guy sitting in the front row of what he completely completely trashed as useless junk. And you know what I did? I just taught my workshop.
Yeah, because that day, it was not a good reflection for
Yeah,
him.
that day he was challenged to do things that were out of his comfort zone, and it got his ego pissed off. 4 years later, he wanted more of it. 7 years later, he wrote his first book and asked me to endorse it. So this is all quite fun. So whatever anybody's writing, they may have had a fight with their spouse, and so no review really is an accurate reflection of who you are.
Mhm. Yeah, it goes for the good reviews too. Even when people say nice stuff about you, it's still a reflection of how they're feeling about themselves and their
Exactly.
lives.
So
So
you just do it for service. It's going to be good for some. It won't hit for everyone. That's not your business, and that's not the job.
exactly. And how would you define creativity in your own words?
The expression of your spirit in its highest and most beautiful expression. Be your most authentic self, being who you really are, fearlessly, boldly, and contributing to the connectivity of humanity. Because art is a common language.
I think that's a beautiful note to end on. Where can people connect with you and learn more about your work?
Well, thank you for asking. You can come to my website, soniachoquette.net. That's a mouthful. Or I have a YouTube channel as well, Sonia Choquette on YouTube. And you can find out about my books, Instagram, my online courses if you wanted. And I have a new book that I'm really excited about called Read Life Accurately, which is just how to just flow through life in the most informed way, most empowered way. But they can find out about all of that, Instagram, YouTube, or my website.
Perfect. We'll share all of that in the show notes. And Sonia, thank you so much for sharing your story today.
It was my pleasure being a guest, and please keep continuing on. We need our artists. They keep our spirits alive.
Thanks so much for tuning in to La Vie Creative. You can find more information on MissParisPhoto.com. And if you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word for all my creative guests. We have the power to help them to keep doing what they love. See you next time.